Yeah.
So like you kind of want that, and then also the idea of having a family and the idea of finding someone to give your love to is impacting, because you don't always have it. It's not readily available.
So as you get older, you start to like feel like this way. Like,
the fuck you call me old?
no,
man?
I'm calling old, bro. I'm saying older, bro.
Yes, yeah, you're totally right. You're absolutely right.
I'm blind, bro.
Geezus. Jesus.
Cool. 3, 2, 1, and we're live. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on another episode of
Geezus.
Your host, George MORA.
And your co-host, Edwin CHUYA. What is up, guys? What is up?
See?
How about the freaking afternoon?
You nailed it
Happy
this
Thanksgiving,
time.
man. Happy Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah, move the mic a little closer.
Oh, yeah,
that
for
way
sure. Okay, yeah.
I don't gotta,
There we go.
fuck around too much and post editing.
No worries, no worries.
Apparently, I'm an audio engineer.
Yeah, yes.
All right. Anyways, yeah, don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe down below to watch our
do.
content.
Yep.
All right. It's Thanksgiving.
Yeah, man. Thanksgiving.
It's Thanksgiving, so we're thankful for a lot of things. We do have a great guest on today. Somebody I've been trying to get on for a long time. All right. He's a guy who's taught me so much. He's actually helped me grow within my industry, within like hospitality, within like a lot of parts and aspects in my life. So it's like a special thing to have him on. And he's also a hard guy to get hold of because he's so fucking busy all the time. Like practically like the smartest dude I know. not hyping it up. Like that's just
humbling
real,
and humbling as well.
that's real shit. Edwin, you've spoken to him for like
5 minutes and all.
like
Good. He's really awesome.
he's a smart. He's a smart guy and he's ambitious and he knows what he's doing. I think a lot of people are gonna learn a lot from him and get a lot from him. So like that's why I really wanted to have him on, because that's what this podcast is about, bro. It's about growing. It's about entertaining. It's about
Learning.
lifestyle. Exactly. And we had Maria Timei on, so don't forget to go back and watch that episode. We had a returning guest on. She got some tea to spill. Too. So
And good advice too as well.
Facts,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Great advice.
Yeah.
So without further ado, let me introduce my guest. All right. He is a sommelier, which if you don't know what that is, pause this video and go watch anything that is sommelier, bro. He's a wine expert at the highest level, peakest level. All right. Insane. And he's also my beverage director. And he's now like an entrepreneur going on his own things, opening up new businesses, hotels, things like that. So Daniel Sage BEEDLE.
Hey, Arsenio Hall thing. Hey, what's up?
What's up, man?
What's going on, guys?
Hey.
Oh, thanks for coming on, man. What makes you want to be on this shitty podcast?
Well, like as you said, you asked me to be on it. So
yeah, I begged him, pretty much like ran up his DMs because I know how hard it is to like get a response from him sometimes.
I'm a hermit. Like, I'll be honest. I pretty much like I focus on two things, and then like that's all I focus on, and like I surface, maybe go out for a drink once in a while, and then like I go back under. So
Yeah, no, I remember working with you. I think we've only gone out like once or two times in like a 3-4 year span of like working with each other.
that might have been like the 1 or 2 times I went out that year.
Oh wow.
Yo, it's crazy, man. How like all right. When I met you, I feel like a lot of people that like meet you at first are like somewhat like intimidated by like maybe your charisma, but more or less like you're smart. You're like your intellect. Your intellect, right? You know so many things on like a high different level. And like meeting you, I met you in a place where like in my life where I had just been broken up with, but like, and I was like searching for like a job that would give me more meaning, more fulfillment
Yeah.
in life. And like, I knew I love restaurants. I knew I love talking to people. I knew I love like interacting with people. And I knew I just liked like the service industry. Also, the money was fucking good. Like, who am I kidding? But I go into like I go on Craigslist and I'm looking up jobs, and then I see a little Indian spot in Midtown Manhattan, and I'm like, yo, I'm just interviewing for server positions. I'm a busser, what I'm saying? I'm gonna say I was a server, and I'm gonna see what I get. And I get this position, and mind you, even the guy we worked with, Paul Downey, name dropping here for anybody in the hospitality industry, but like
Fat Duck, EMP. Some of the best restaurants in the entire world.
Exactly. So, and I didn't even know who I was sitting with at the moment of the interview. but they wanted me to be a part of the team. So I was like humbled and like he gave like everybody like a motivational speech, bro. I don't know. Everybody was behind him. And, you know, through that, you were hired, you came on board, and I met you. And again, like I said, you're the smartest person. He hires like the smartest, the best, like people that are willing to learn and are highly motivated and ambitious in their lives. So like this is like the peak moment where I like met you. And yeah.
Well, I mean, like the whole concept of that place was no one goes to an Indian restaurant to build on their service. You go to a French restaurant, you go to an Italian restaurant, you go to a Michelin restaurant. But what we were trying to do is take, a world-class Indian restaurant and then bring it into the modern way of service.
Mm-hmm.
So we were used to taking people that like owned restaurants and just would do anything to be a busser or be a server. And the whole concept was to just find people that wanted to grow and grow them and spend every day growing them and pushing them and pushing them and pushing them until they were the best. And so that's the whole concept of what we were trying to do.
Yeah.
Which I think we did a good job.
I think like as a whole, as a team, we did like an amazing job. Like we were number one on like table.
We were right under per se.
We were right under per se.
Months.
In New York City. In New York City, we were right under like
per se was 4 and we were like 5. And then like at one point, I think we were at 3 and per se was at 4. Like we were playing like a very competitive game when it comes to like New York City. For Indian food. And mind you, like anybody that doesn't know Indian food, like I walked into the interview being like, yo, I'm going to work in an Indian restaurant. I'm going to leave smelling like curry every day. Like completely opposite, completely wrong of what I really thought it was going to be like. It wasn't like that at all. It was really the most professional, like caring environment with the most like delicious, exquisite, like different kind of flavored food that you just never imagined in your life. It was fun.
It was fun.
And for me, it was easy because India has 2,000 years of creating these like amazing non-alcoholic beverages.
Mm-hmm.
And, my background is classic cocktails. All I had to do was take the flavor profile from all the non-alcoholic and just put booze into them to a certain extent. And then kind of fall into like a different tapestry of dialogue. And then there we go. And that's what we did.
And then how did you get into like this whole like bartending phase? Like what made you really want to delve deep into like the sommelier world as far as like mixology?
Let's give it an opportunity. Before my first job in New York, I was working construction. And like, I'm not the biggest guy.
I mean, bro, you look, I don't know why. Maybe
bro.
in my head, you just look like massive for some reason. You look like you're just built for like, and like also working with you, like I'd bitch about picking up boxes, you know what I'm saying? Like wine boxes, and them shits are a lot heavier than you think they are. But this dude would pick up like 3 or 4 like at like one fucking time. He'd just be like, oh, you're being a bitch? Cool. Picks that shit up and just walks it right up.
Yeah, never let him see you cry. But yeah, I used to weigh like 195 and that's all I would do is work out all day. But like I've been married for like 11 years and I haven't hit the gym in a very, very long time.
Yeah, I remember when I started working out, he was like, yo, he's working out, bro. Like I can't let my team look at me like a bitch. I got to start doing something. So he'd come out, he'd be like, I ran 4 miles, George.
Yeah.
I bench pressed like 250.
Yeah, I went back
that's
to
like 3 of yous.
Yeah.
Damn.
It was good times. Yeah, but what were we talking about?
Well, what kind of brought you into? You said construction.
Yeah, so I started off in construction, and like I was working next to like these like big Jamaican guys, and they would like they would laugh at me, and they'd kind of encourage me, and they would teach me like the ropes. But at the end of the day, I was working at 4:30 in the morning until like I had like lungs filled with like black soot, and I was like, oh, I can't do this anymore. This is killing me. And so,
how old are you?
I moved to the city when I was 17.
17.
So I've pretty much been living on my own since I was 15.
Mm-hmm. And you're from Arkansas, right?
I was born and raised in Arkansas, but then traveled to Oregon because I got an acting scholarship for like the local high school. Mm-hmm. Took 2 years of high school, passed out, and then basically jumped around to the local community college for a bit, and then came here early. So right before I turned 18, I was in New York. I had $300 to my name. And I needed a job because, rent's expensive. Rent's expensive here.
And you live in Brooklyn, right?
And I moved to Midwood.
Midwood?
Yeah. Some scary people. Scary, sight unseen, scary people. And, so I did construction for a bit. And then I became a host. And then I became a maitre d' like right afterwards.
Which is weird because like a lot of guys, they don't become like hosts, you know what I'm saying? Like we go for like the bus or runner position. And like right now, like, I mean, every restaurant I've been to, hostess is the
girl.
shorty, the hot girl at the door, greeting everybody. And we don't see guy hosts unless they're like really gay and charismatic.
I don't think that they thought that I would mess with any of the other girl hostesses. Either they're like, that's a good kid. He's gonna mind his business.
Did you mind your business?
And I did. I minded my business. I did a very good job. But it was like I was there. It was a Carmine's in Times Square, and
Well, also, I guess you had like that actor like
I had
kind of
that,
vibe,
yeah.
right? And is that why you came to New York?
yeah, because I could read people. I wanted to come to New York to do theater, but then I realized, oh, stuff that I want to do, the cerebral, like head scratcher stuff. That's like that I really want, the meat of acting. You don't get paid for that. So, you have to, do a lot of commercial stuff. And I was like, I just can't keep up with that.
Yeah.
But then I went to massage therapy, did that because my whole family did that. And then eventually I was like, bartending makes a ton of money. It involves tons of history, wine, alcohol, tea, coffee, Sotol, everything. You can trace pretty much the entire human origin history based off of what they're drinking. There's only two cultures in the world that don't have an alcoholic beverage. Aboriginals and the Inuits. And even the Inuits, they kind of ferment like elk milk. So like
elk milk.
And there's just so many stories. And like you can go back to like, mid 12th, 13th century Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tie in that story all the way to, 1500s on the California coast. It ties pretty much everybody together. And, no matter who you are, or who you're talking to, you can connect these stories just based off of history, but then also physically imbibing the things that are these cultural remnants of things they produce.
And then what gets you so fascinated to like learning about those things? Because in today's day, like us, like kids or this generation, I feel like we don't really give a fuck about that. And like, that's kind of like a lost thing, within our like,
I'm a tactile learner. Like I'm not a smart person when it comes to being smart. I'm just really, really diligent. Like I have flashcards that I have so many flashcards that if I put them together, I couldn't physically lift them. And I would just sit there and be like, oh, I want to learn all about it. And so you crush flashcards, you memorize. And the same thing that I've done my whole life with everything. I fuck up until I make it. But
I love that.
I love that too.
You take the laziest person, you give them the hardest job, and they'll find the simplest solution. And I've always been a lazy person. And, I put myself in very hard situations, like moving to New York when I was 17 with no money. And then you make yourself succeed and then you learn from that. And I find that a lot of the newer generation, they don't go through that. And you need to shape yourself because you need to test yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And nowadays you could just Google something to find the right answer. But, back in the day, there was no Google. There was nothing. You had to come up with an answer and you had to make sure that it worked. And if it didn't work, you had to see it through.
Yeah.
And so the failures were a lot slower and they took a lot longer, which kind of more resonated with you, so.
Which I agree. I feel like you put I brought my cousin on to the bar, to that industry. I brought a lot of my friends into the industry and I felt the same way. Like they felt like they didn't really know what hard work was and they didn't really like get it. And then also this concept of work smarter, not harder too. Cause if not, like we're going to be there like forever, and like we can get things a lot faster done as a team and we can get things done like a lot faster if we just like actually put ourselves through that than just like taking the easy way out or like finding the laziest, like kind of way to go about things.
And you guys turned out to be really good. Like it was a good team. Like I put you guys up against Nomad or other bars any day.
Which are like the top fucking bars in New York City. So like that's a big thing for like a bartender, like we wanted to be like the Nomad bartenders. I remember you said when I first started working, you were like, yo, like you have to go to the Nomad bar, like the Nomad bar, like it's going to change your life. Like it's completely different than even this bar that we built. That's also really nice. Right. But it's just going to completely change the way they work. Like just look at the way they work,
Mechanics. It's like fighting.
Yeah, exactly like fighting.
Keep your hands up, you keep tight, you keep your abs on, and when they move, everything is mechanic and it goes exactly back where it should be every single time. And you just get that repetition and you get good and you get better.
Yeah, and then you see the people, and then when I walked into Nomad, I know there's a big ambiance. I know the aesthetics is pleasing and all that. Like they put a lot of
Money.
time and money into it. But when you really just look at the workers like work, it's fucking beautiful. Like it's like the way what we try to do at the restaurants, like it's like a ballet, right?
Yeah.
It was like a theater, like almost like they're putting up an act, but it's just like hours and hours of work, knowing where everything is, knowing what you got to do, and then understanding the rush times, and then going through it, and it just looks so seamless. It's fucking amazing.
When you stand back and look at it as a whole, you realize that people and dopamine is released in your brain through seeing cyclical actions, like music. It goes in a cycle and has a rhythm, but when the beat drops, boom, then that feels good.
Yeah.
That's the same way when you're doing service. Everything's mechanical, everything's organized, and all of a sudden, boom, it drops.
I never thought of that. Like, well, I mean, it makes sense because it's the buildup, right?
Yeah.
Like the buildup of the beat, and then the beat drops, and then that's like when really notice it.
Look at any predator. So predator, their eyes and the way that their eyes are faced forward, they're looking at their prey and they have to track it. Our brains can't keep up that fast. So it does math for us. So it estimates where the prey will end up or where the ball will end up. You throw a ball, you have to get where you think it's going to go.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a reward center in your brain that gives you dopamine for predicting patterns. That is why we enjoy music. And you're talking about alcohol. Everyone talks about alcohol as a depressant. It slows the body down. We all know that.
Yeah.
Speeds the mind up, though. It's actually a stimulant.
That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna be like, it feels like a stimulant that goes into like a depressant.
It slows your automatic nervous system down, but inside, they've actually looked at the patterns and the way that it keeps cycle, and it looks very similar to the way that people listen to music. When you get a headache, that's when that rhythm and that cycle stop, and it crashes like glass.
See, this is the kind of shit I'm talking about, bro. Like, this is the kind of shit you just don't hear regular people speak, bro. This is like 49 episodes in. I think this is the 50th episode, actually.
51st.
Yeah, the 51st episode, right? The 51st episode. Like, dude, nobody says things like that like anymore. You know what I'm saying? Nobody really like understands or like really looks into things that deeply. Like, what? How do you even know that?
What the hell? Like, this is like.
Well, I mean, I read books.
You just read books?
I read books.
Read books, bro.
Books are great. I love books. Are fantastic. I talk to people that are smarter than me. So like, so
you read books, but most importantly, you surround yourself with people that are like.
Oh yeah, I ask questions. I don't like. We were just talking about Pokemon. I know nothing about Pokemon.
Oh yeah, of course.
And the question I asked was like, because the last time I paid attention to Pokemon, there's always new worlds and new worlds.
Yeah.
How many new worlds can there be in a planet? Can you estimate how many new lands that they've had and the miles in which they've traveled to determine the size of the planet?
So
Dude,
it's crazy.
You know what I mean?
Like, just like what?
Like, what's the math in that? Is anyone thinking of that?
Yeah, nobody thinks about that.
Yeah.
But there is. I'm pretty sure there is on Game Theory. Like this guy just like thinks about all the weirdest things from like Walking Dead towards like Pokemon, towards like how like the Pokemon goes into the ball, like how they like live.
How is that not
shit.
interesting?
Yeah, and then he makes videos on it, and then he gets millions of views off that because he really delves deep into that. Yeah,
it's the rabbit hole. It's the minutia. You know,
it's crazy. That's fucking crazy. So anyway, all right. So you're 17 years old. You're in New York City. You're working as a host, and you just get the opportunity to become a bartender. And then from there,
I lied. I said I had experience. I didn't have any experience.
And you got away with it.
That's what I did too.
No, I didn't get away. I was fired.
Oh, okay.
I was fired. Within like 3 weeks. But then I learned all the stuff from those 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And then I lied again and I was better.
I like that. I like that.
That's what people need to fucking hear, bro, because you get so demotivated when you're fucking trying to look for a job in the restaurant industry, right? Especially now, if you want to be a bartender, they're fucking desperate, bro. This is the time to fucking just lie your ass off on that fucking resume because nobody wants to fucking work right now. But if you want to learn how to be a bartender, like just lie again, like you said, fail. And then learn from your failures and then go and do it again. Because that's kind of what I did in my last restaurant. I was a server assistant, right? And I just wanted a server position. And I felt like I was ready for that. But that place didn't want to promote me. They didn't want to and all I asked them, I was like, yo, listen, please just give me like an opportunity. Just give me like a 3-day trial. If I don't work out on that 3-day trial, then I'll learn from it. And like, I'll try again some other month, right? Or when somebody else gets fired or some shit. They weren't even willing to give me that. So I'm like, there's no growth here. I'm not staying here. Fuck that. I don't care how much I get paid. I'm leaving. Like, so I didn't just quit, but I found another job, right? And this is the job that I found. And I lied too. I was like, yo, like, listen, let me be like, I want to be a waiter. I want to be a waiter.
You got to get good at lying too.
Yeah, I know.
It's
Yeah.
another skill, you know?
So, wait,
So-
I have a question. My fault. I don't mean to.
No, go on.
So you said that you got fired after 3 weeks when you lied, right?
Yeah.
So you didn't know nothing about like bartending at all, and like so how you didn't got fired like within the first week if you didn't know like nothing? You get what I'm saying?
I was charming and nice to people.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, wait, 3 weeks in and then they fire you.
So that's
I'd be like, so I make my Cosmos my way, but like,
yeah.
how do you make your Cosmos?
how do you make your
How do you make your Cosmos?
Oh, okay,
And I'm
okay.
sitting there just like, vodka.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Exactly. So like you just study the behavior. So the way I really did like the whole like playing off the service situation, and I don't know if Paul Downey knew that I wasn't a server, but or like Akshay knew that I wasn't a server. I'm fucking well now y'all know. But like they probably saw through it. But either way, the way I was going about like the lie was pretty much like I did want to be a server, and I would be friends with servers. I would see what they did, what their job really consisted of. I'm like, what's their movement every day? Like, what are they actually doing as a server? Like, the only thing that I couldn't really understand was the whole like system. Until you start putting stuff in the computer in, that's the only way you're gonna get it. But even as a server, like every restaurant is different. So you're only gonna learn that system by like actually going and putting it in. So I could learn everything else that they do, how to take orders, how to like go and be confident and like go and like ask people, like for what their dishes are, memorizing the allergies, like all these things, like what questions they would ask during lineup. Like I would really just sit down and I'd be like, all right, cool. Like in my interview, I'm going to sit here and sound just like these people.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of like how I'm learning. And then I don't know, like somehow I was so focused on like just being a server that like during the interview, when they asked me, when they were like, oh, like, listen, like, you'd be a good server assistant, which is where I was at. And like, but you're not a good captain yet. And I'm like, nah, bro, like I'm a captain. And I left the interview like, nah, like I want to be a captain. I'm sorry. Like it's great and everything. They kept reaching out to me to the point where Paul Downey literally texted me. He was like, yo, like we went to Santina, the spot you raved about, and you weren't there. Where were you? I was like, dude, because I told him I was working every day. That was my only day off. And he went there and I'm like, bro, you tried Chinchina? Like, let me like hit up the manager. Let me like talk to him, tell him like who's there. He's like, nah, like we left. But he's like, yeah, like the Chinchina was great, mate, or some shit like that, right?
Roy?
He's Australian Roy. Roy, so like, and then after that, I was like, like, who is this guy? Google him. Bro, like one of the biggest hospitality like people out there. They have like articles written about him. So I'm like, fuck, like let me work for this dude. Like let me see where I'm gonna get working for this guy. So like, yeah, I lied, kind of to my way to the top, but then I try to become the best at whatever I was, and I try to study everybody else in a higher position so that I can get there.
That's awesome.
And then yeah, Daniel, one day, I guess like one of your bartenders was not working out, and he was like, yo, fuck, like who's like this other little dickhead that we could like fuck
Other
with,
little
like,
dickhead, damn.
who's a hard worker we could just pick on. I mean, you told me straight up. You were like, do you know anything about, like, I remember the conversation, you were like, yo, do you know anything about like alcohol, anything about beer, wine, or anything like that? And I'm like, honestly, like, no. He's like, cool. So I'm gonna teach you from scratch.
That's the best way to do it, though.
Yeah.
Like I honestly, I look for people that are a blank slate, because if you go and like, if you don't know what you're doing, you learn the wrong way, that's ingrained in you.
And it's harder to like, you gotta unlearn that and then learn the new thing.
So like, it's good to hear people saying like, I don't know anything, but I have an attitude and I'm a perseverer. I'm gonna like come through with it.
Yeah.
You ever who Richard Linklater is?
No.
So he studied babies. He was like this big director as well. But babies can scream for hours and hours and hours and hours. They never lose their voice because they don't have any learned inflections. That's so basically he learned the pattern of the way the baby screamed. It would teach rock stars, things like that, how to scream without losing their vocal cords. But the same philosophy happens in a lot of these top tier, like 11 Madison Park. I'm not giving away a secret, but like they would hire people from Cornell, have almost no hospitality experience, but they're just really smart.
Yeah.
And they're like very serious. And
like
they would
Vishwa?
like Vishwa. Vishwa's well, no. So Vishwa's a unique example. Vishwa, if you're listening,
Unique example.
not only are you smart, charming, and incredibly talented, but he had Vishwa is a huge intellect. He knows what he's doing. He could see something and then mimic it quite easily.
Yeah, the dude was so smart. I was like, wow, he
he's
shouldn't be in the position.
He's in a different league. But for most people, they would hire these people and they would train them. So like it's like drinking the Kool-Aid. It's like we do this every time and there's no other way to do it. You drop it exactly like this and you pronounce it exactly like this. And then that's how you build people, because If you have too much confidence and you have too much experience, you're like, oh, well, my last place, I did it like this and it was easier. And then all of a sudden, everyone's doing something different. And you don't have a seamless service.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably what Paul saw in you. And that's definitely what I saw in you. Was like, oh, this guy can take something and make it right and make it his own. And you don't have to worry about it once you tell him once. He's going to do it perfect. And you can just tell him something else next time. And then week after week after week after week, it just built.
Yeah, which is
awesome.
Which is why I love working a part of that team. And like the thing was, he was honest. He was like, "Yo, listen, I'm gonna give you shit about it." I always felt like I had like this military like mindset engraved in me, where it's like, I'm okay with taking shit. If somebody, as long as it's like I feel like it's constructive, I'm okay with taking it. But I'm also really young, where it's like I'm also still learning how to take this shit. You know what I'm saying? Because I also have like a little bit of an attitude. You know, I also have like my own personality about me that I have to let go. When I'm in that profession, I have to understand, I have to humble myself. Humbling is a big thing. I was really like arrogant, right?
Yeah.
Still kind of arrogant a little bit. But like I needed to really humble myself to listen to people that are smarter than me. Because it's going
to help you, right? It's going to help you later on.
That's the only way I'm going to learn like later on. Yeah. And like, well, I feel like a lot of people don't think that way now. I feel like a lot of people are just too entitled. Like they just come in and they're just like super like, oh yeah, like I know how to do this. I know how to do this. Like, yeah, I know.
But at the end, they don't at all.
And they don't know.
And
they're too scared to ask.
It doesn't take you that far though down the line.
Exactly.
You know, when you get to, you know, the corporate level and you're dealing with heavy hitters that know the math and nuts and bolts of every aspect of the business.
Yeah.
Like you don't have a dialogue and you're not producing, you're not creating anything and you're not generating revenue based off of that. It's a totally different game. If you don't have those fundamentals, that you're not going to succeed at the higher echelon.
Exactly. And the thing is that we did have a lot of pressure on us, and it's like it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows working with this guy, bro. This guy violated me. Like he put me down a lot of times. You know, I was mad, but I was
he
like,
put you down to order to build yourself up more.
So that's what I felt. I'm like, bro, like how far have I come? Every time I think like how mad I was, I'm like, yo, how far have I really come? You know what I'm saying?
Course,
like, so it's like, you know what? I'll take a little shit, and I know what I seen his vision. So I'm like, all right, cool. Like I'm gonna try my best to help him on his vision instead of trying to create my own vision. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, yo, like let me get on his mentality, let me get on his level. I'm gonna take the shit. I don't care. Like I know how far I've come and I know how much more I'm gonna learn by sticking alongside him and dealing with the shit. And like one little argument shouldn't be the fucking end of it. Like I remember the big example, because I had trouble working with others too, and I feel like a lot of people have that when you work with somebody for so long. He was like, and there was one bartender, Manny, that you fucking love, but he would get away with shit, bro, that a lot of people wouldn't get away with, and we didn't really fucking know why. And he walked me down. He talked to me one day, and he was like, yo, listen, he's like, Manny could come downstairs, punch me in the face, and I'd ask him to come in to work tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Because he's just that good, and because we're that cool, and because he understands what he has to do, and he's like a professional, what he has to do. And also, like, we just don't take shit that seriously. So, like, when we're like cutting ass on each other, or like when he's giving me constructive criticism that doesn't seem so constructive, like, I understand, like, yo, it's like a punch in the face, but like, we're gonna come in and do it better tomorrow.
I think I said something like, "Put the olives on the corner of the bar, or like in this location, or go home." It's like, put it here or go home. And then like I was just like, that's the lesson today. Let's just organize our olives.
He walked out. He walked out.
Well, the thing is with Manny though, is like he's been through it, battle wounds.
Yeah.
Like he's seen the same shit I've seen. Like I know that he has a depth of experience and knowledge and just like a sense of like worldly intellect.
Mm-hmm.
So like I respect that very much. And you know, he also knows that he has that too. So it's kind of like he knows how incredibly valuable he is. And as soon as like, you know, people like yourself realize how valuable it is, and like, you know, all of a sudden everything's revealed, you can't pull that shit anymore. So like that's what people kind of do to train people up. And then once they're trained, then it's like things calm down a touch.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people didn't get that. They were just like, oh, like, I mean, Manny was a little bit catered, bro. Nobody ever walked out the restaurant and then came back to work next day.
Yeah, well,
you know what I'm saying? He got lucky on that aspect, but I understood, like, this is his team. You know, I got to be on board with the team he's trying to build. And if I'm seeing his vision, I know the vision. If he sees something in me, he sees something in other people too. So I have to trust it, you know, whether I agree with it or not, I have to like make it work. And I felt like,
at the end of the day, you just learn from it.
Yeah, like I was also in this business mentality where I went back to school, right? And I was like, yo, what if I did work for a powerful CEO one day for a company? I'm going to be his bitch, and I got to be on his team with other bitches too, right?
Well, you're also learning how to, when you're in the same role.
Yeah.
You're learning how to take people and grow people, because that's the thing. You're going to have so many people that are going to work under you at a certain point in which you have to be like, okay, there's, you know, he has something. I have to get it out of them. And also I have to make the whole system work, and I have to make them work with everybody else, and think about the longevity of the company. And you play math. You're like, is this person going to work out or not?
Or not, yeah.
Sometimes you have to cut bait, and it's not that anything personal. It's just they can't do it. So
Which is true.
You got to learn how to deal with that, and it's tricky. No one knows how to do it exactly right, and it takes just the right amount of culture in order to be able to push a team.
It's true. I mean, yo, he was a full blonde when we started working. Like 4 months down the line, his hair turned gray.
Well, this whole thing, this is the Thanksgiving, outfit.
But no, but that was just crazy. I was like, no, this dude is working so hard. And then he would always try to educate not just his team, but like everybody. Like we would all do wine tastings. And then you'd give us like that brief history about where the wine comes from. Madeira was one of the biggest ones, right? From like Portugal and like the whole triangle. You want to tell a story?
The triangle, no, that's exactly right. It was the trade, the Golden Triangle. And when you're coming out from England, you think, oh, well, the first thing I can do in a ship, a wooden ship, you'd go right across.
Yeah.
It's not how it works. You actually have to go down the coast, and then you go up to Brazil. If you want to get to New York from England and you're doing a sailing ship, it's better to go to Brazil first.
To Brazil first.
Which doesn't make sense. And then it goes up. And so there's this trading thing where Madeira was the last island before they could fill up on supplies, which was one of the first sugar plantations before it eventually moved to Brazil. And then you had those giant things that messed up. And then Madeira is actually Madeira is an entrenched history. Most of the slave trade in America was started in Madeira itself. So like dark history.
That's crazy.
Dark island.
Real dark shit, bro.
Like it was some dark shit. They found that, and there's history of that island going back to Pliny the Elder, which is a Roman general around the year 0. And he traveled around the world looking for places where you grow wine, where you have history of growing wine and viticulture. And he went to the Iberian Peninsula in Portugal, and he was talking to the local people there, and he goes, is there anything else beyond the frontera, Jerez de Frontera, the end of the world where, Western civilization stopped?
Yeah.
And 2,000 years prior to that, there was myths of these islands in the middle of the Atlantic, which they thought was Atlanta. What was it? City of Atlanta? Atlantis. Yeah. That's what they thought it was, Madeira. They discovered it in 1419. And then it was this beautiful wooded island, which Madeira means the wooded island.
Oh, shit, I know that.
And they burned it to the ground. They said it burned for 7 years. They burned it to the ground so they could, plant like livestock and, crops and things like that. So it could be a filler station. And then eventually they started doing grapes and fortifying the wine there.
And then you said like during the travel, it would cook the wine, right?
Yeah. So essentially they take the wine, they fortify it a little bit with like an aguardiente, like, a little like neutral grape brandy. And then they put it in the hulls of these ships. And as it would go through the equator, it would essentially bake, or we call modernize. And that baking essentially reduces it, oxidizes it. Well, basically, it's the same thing with brownie in motion, like, any kind of, element. When you have the molecules together and it's cold, they go slow. But when you heat them up, they go really fast, and the chemical reactions start to go really fast. So you heat them up in these ships, it basically like super ages the wine. And they realized after it went to Tokyo and all the way back, they're like, oh, damn, this stuff tastes really fucking good. And so they realized how to do that, and they'd put it in these giant attics, and then they would actually take it through the equator. And that was one of the first processes called torum viagem, where they'd pass it through the equator and then you drink it afterwards. It was the first American wine.
It's insane.
Like Thomas Jefferson drank a bunch. George Washington drank a pint a day. Like it's historically an American beverage, but it also just happens to go with Indian food too.
So that's why we had one of the biggest Madeira selections in all New York City, right?
Yeah, in all New York City. There's only one place in America that had a bigger Madeira collection than us.
Who?
Place in Florida, but they didn't store it right. And there's this giant warehouse in like Boca Raton or something like that, where I think some like ridiculously rich guy does this very old restaurant, and he has everything.
What the fuck?
I know.
Jesus.
I know. He had it though. I can't claim the biggest.
All right. So, all right, going past your journey in New York City, studying. What made you? What jumped you into the sommelier world, right?
Um,
Just working at a bar,
You know,
from bar to bar. You went bar to bar.
it's a very romantic. It's romantic to talk about the history and about thinking about what you know intellectually and then tying that down into like a visceral experience. I think oftentimes you can theoretically think of something like really, really, pristine and it's crystalline in your mind. But then when you actually experience it, it never kind of pairs up. So it's kind of like when you're discovering these flavors, taste, aromas, and you're drinking the wine, you're kind of matching your higher thoughts to the actual product. And it's fun. The more you know about it, the more you can be like, oh, it's just like, was this exposed to, a lot of like manganese, or like, what was like the aspect for the light hitting it? Did it see a lot of rot that year? Was it a very cold year? Was it a very warm year? What are they doing with the trellising system to make it taste like a little bit herbal, a little bit green?
Mm-hmm.
And so you can tie those things into it. But it's just like, when you watch like sports and the entire team and the ins and outs of like everyone's career, it's pretty much the same thing
with wine.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Like you enjoy it.
It's like a hobby.
But like if you don't know how the game is played, like cricket's probably a really boring game just to watch cold. So that's why like, you have to really kind of get into it.
Well, also besides like the whole like knowledge aspect, I guess there is like a whole like, I guess sommelier competitiveness between other sommeliers.
Yeah, I like that.
Like that kind of game.
Well, I mean, yeah. So I'm slightly competitive, but I'm not competitive
Slightly
to like.
competitive.
Okay. So
Crazy.
Well, I like engagement. I like to be sharp. I like to exercise my brain. Recess was always my favorite class. Like I'd go out, I'd play, have fun, and you don't get to do that with your brain in a lot of jobs. Like I couldn't do that with construction. But like when you're blind,
I thought it'd be like a who can lift heavier shit or type shit.
I mean,
get old.
It kind of is. I mean that certain people have certain facilities.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that like if you're 6'5" and you got really broad shoulders, probably going to lift more than most people. Like there's this guy Raj Par who's one of the best, most brilliant wine tasters. Happens to be Indian, and he can just smell the wine without even tasting it and just nails it
Every time.
Nails it. Like not every time, no,
but, like,
of course not.
Okay,
but like he's really like very good at it.
What I love about like the sommelier world is the way you guys describe the wine and how competitive that is.
It's an economy of words.
To me, that's like watching a fight, bro. That's
not
like
a words for words.
It gets like my blood rush, and I'm like, yo, bro, like what? Like, because I slightly, when you get into that world, you slightly start to understand like all the lingos, everything they're saying, like because they'll just smell, and off the smell, they'll just start listing things that smell like that, things they know, or come up with creative words, and then they'll get points for it. It's like a point system, right?
Yeah, you're talking about the grid. So that's a quartermaster sommelier grid where it's like, you smell terpenes and then you're like, oh, damn, I smell terpenes. I can get like a bunch of points, like magnolia flowers, or I can get like honeysuckle off this. You just list flowers. There's certain fun things you can do and tricks you can do, but like blind tasting is a parlor trick. Like it's much more of the culture that you build within the restaurant and the culture that you build within the community of diners. So there's a higher aspect of like sharing, like I said earlier, like the history of these regions and the farmers that grow them, because it's an agricultural product too. Like I'm just as excited about tomatoes.
Exactly.
They don't make me that much money.
And now also you're jumping into you said you bought a hotel, right?
So we have there's an investor group called New Vision Partners, who is two couples, both husband wife team, that they will buy properties, and then they also have a construction company on the side in which they'll refurbish it. This big engineering firm, and they do all these like really crazy fun projects. And they found this historic building in Washington, North Carolina, and I think they bought it for $75,000. Huge building, 3-story.
75,000.
And the city paid them $500,000 to renovate it. And so they're being pretty smart. They're like, great, that's awesome. I'm basically making money off of that. Plus, at the end of it, I get a really cool building. And so they were looking to put a business in there. And so I flew down there to kind of consult and tell them what they should be doing. I advised them to get a contract management gig to have another restaurant group that's like local, that like is established,
Okay.
to come and take over it for like, 20% of
So
profit.
how did you know them? How did they get in contact with you?
I do something called Sage Beverage Consulting LLC. It's like an LLC that I have that like a lot of like somms, bartenders, things like that. Like they'll, work a day and they'll take all the recipes that they've ever learned and then like give them to a restaurant or like, find like bespoke beverage solutions to problems that you might have. Like if your bar isn't ergonomically correct and your bartenders don't know how to be efficient, you can go and do like a training, or you can reorganize the bar and things like that. Or if you have a great bartender who's like very charismatic, but they have no idea about financial aspects of how to run the business or depletions or matrix, which is most because they get into it because they're very charismatic. And then I get to be the nerd that comes in and basically writes the book for them, breaks it down, tells them how to order, keeps them organized, Department of Health type of things like that. But then also like I've obviously expanded beyond just beverage to go to, HR, anything like director of operations for different things, shipping, building kitchens, things like that.
Yeah, I remember you told me that when Sans was opening, right? That's when you started.
That's when I was really sunk my teeth into like actually like, putting what I've learned into, practice. And I think it went pretty well. I mean, like Champ, the chef, knew what he was doing, but I was only there for like 2 months and it ran itself.
Yeah.
For the most part, operations were good.
So yeah, for those who don't know, basically we from the last restaurant we worked at, which was the Indian restaurant, we moved on to an all vegan restaurant, which was pretty much just 2 people running that, and then one chef in the back making all the food.
Yeah.
And we'd see how many people? Like
45 maybe a night.
40, yeah, like 45, like 45 people
restaurant.
a night. It was really small, like kind of but it was also with a chef from like 11 Madison Park, like one of the top.
Yeah, he was one of the sous from 11 Madison. His food is
so his
I think he's writing
amazing.
a book actually right now about
He is writing a book.
Yeah.
I forgot why I texted him, but yeah, we did have like a few conversations back to back. But yeah, I mean, this dude was so smart and he's so humble. He was like the nicest chef I've ever met, but also like just really into like fresh produce. Like that's probably the one thing that would get him mad if he didn't have like fresh, like good food.
Expensive.
To like
It's very expensive.
expensive food, but good food. And like the thing is, he would make vegan dishes taste like meat dishes, or like even better than that, like something completely new. Which to me was like, wow. Like we had like the Sans burger,
Seriously,
which was serious, and again, no meat in there, completely vegan. Tasted like a better burger, like better than the Impossible Burger
with a vegan brioche bun too, like which is hard to do.
I think we had somebody who only ate the Impossible Burger, and we had that in, and then we told him, "Yo, try both side to side. We're not going to tell you which one has the Impossible Burger, but try both side to side, and then tell us which one you like more." And then he ended up choosing Chef's Burger over the Impossible Burger that he loves. I remember that. I was like, "Wow, like damn, like yo, people really love his food."
That's one.
By the way,
chef.
that's when you started like the consulting.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, because a lot of the time, like you get paid for the hours in which you work. It's a grueling business. You're putting hours and hours and hours into it. And at the end of the day, you've done the same thing you did basically yesterday.
Yeah.
So you have to get out of it somehow. And the only way out is up for the most part. So it's a better way to utilize my time and also utilize all of my past experiences. I think if I could, give any advice to anybody is if you work at a place, take everything from them. Not just like all the intellectual property, not physical property, but like take their concept, take their idea, take their mission statement, look at it, and then rework it. Because great artists steal.
I remember the first day, because nothing's original.
No.
So it's like the first day he gives me his list of cocktails, right? And I'm like, yo, this is like a holy grail right now, a holy grail moment.
The holy
and
Bible
he
for
does this
George.
like in the manager's office, like in his little desk. He's like, hey, listen, he's like, I know you're gonna steal everything. He's like, just make it better. Cause that's what I did at my last job. So just do it. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'm like, definitely gonna. I definitely have done. We experimented a lot, but beyond that, you went from Sans and then you went to that other restaurant. What happened to that restaurant? The Italian restaurant.
So
that place was very crazy to me. I was like, what the fuck? This
so
is
it was LDV, La Dolce Vita, which has properties in London. They're opening up in I think Dubai. They're opening up in Rio de Janeiro. They're opening up Japan. They have like a line called Honda, which is in cruise ships. Honda, I mean wave in Italian.
Okay.
And then they have Dulce, Italian, which is down in Florida. They have American Cut in Philly and two in New York. And then they have Scarpetta, which is like their main brand.
Scarpetta,
which was like a small little mom pop, like Italian place. Seats like, 130. Well, Scott Conant was there back in the day. And like I was when it opened like 12 years ago, I was there opening week just randomly. The general manager of that place actually ended up being the general manager of Nomad.
Did they have like famous, like back in the day, they have like famous like mafia people that go in there?
No.
No?
I mean, not then. Not then. Can't say about now. But I think they made like $156 million the year prior, and they're one of the wealthiest businesses for restaurants and hospitality during COVID. And whereas, they do a very good job, it's not necessarily like high echelon fine dining, but they have one of the best Instagram social media games in the world because they're keeping their guests constantly engaged. And they're one of the only people that are actually opening restaurants during this time period. And so I'd be down in Florida, I'd be up in Montauk, I'd be doing like crazy numbers. I bought.
They would do like the whole model situation.
Oh yeah. And which to me, like when I came to it, because I was like very arrogant about it, I was like, that's disgusting. You're going to have models that you're going to pay to come into the restaurant. They'd spend like $30,000 a week one time, just like having these models come in, and they would like, they'd have the spaghetti like dripping out of their mouth, and they're all like, super like skitty. And I was like, and I'm a nerd, so I'm like, these girls make me uncomfortable.
It's art. It's art.
It's like, I don't understand this. This isn't about fine dining.
You see Edwin behind the camera. OnlyFans.
This is art.
But like they know, they open my eyes to a totally different side of social media and the importance of that. Very wickedly smart in those ways. So I'd order pallets, like shipping containers of rosé at a time, a week, like for the beach, and it would just go like cases upon cases upon cases of champagne about volume. Like it was a lot. I think the first year I got there, and I got to use like
because they had like an upstairs and they had like a down private.
Yeah, and they have like a
catering
speakeasy
place.
thing, and then they've got like an enormously talented group of people to work for them. But like I think I got to use my like metrics and ordering system, and I think we made $1.3 million more in beverage alone in a single location.
Are they still making a lot of money? They're still making great money.
They could. I mean, I probably shouldn't talk too much detail about it, but they could lose money for quite some time and still be great.
That's crazy.
Because they do management contract deals, and that's the best thing. They go to a hotel. You're a hotel. They're like, hey, we'll do an amazing restaurant, and they do an amazing restaurant in your property, but just pay us for this determined amount of year, and we'll take care of hospitality. We'll take 20% or whatever it is. If you shut down, contract still runs. So right now during COVID, the contracts are still running and they're still generating.
Oh, that's crazy.
Which is so smart. The owner is brilliant.
But it's also
he's also a Cornell guy too.
That's crazy.
So yeah, it's all the Cornell clique.
It's crazy because nobody would ever think that like restaurants would sit here and like go under like the way they are now, bro. I mean, in New York City, I'm seeing so many places boarded up, so many businesses, so many like
45% of restaurants are deemed to probably close, and because also they're crippled too because they don't have the money to spend on the things they need to spend them on. It's the roughest time in the world, so you have to develop a business model that's flexible. Do delivery, but do delivery very, very well. Lower the price point. Make sure that you can do catering and offsites. Like we would do events. Me and a chef would prep all the stuff in the kitchen. Chef did most of it. And then we drive out to Montauk for like 16 people, and we charge $10,000 because they couldn't leave their house, and they have these giant houses and they want to entertain, and we just go there and do it, and it was fantastic, and it was very profitable. Very few people were doing that or playing that game.
Yeah,
but they're just like, what can we do to have money? And what they had, the best thing is they would have meetings every week where they get together saying, what are we doing? What did we do good last week? What did we do good this week? And they genuinely put the brain trust together to apply their intellect to problems. No restaurant does that. Not a lot. We didn't even do that. We didn't do that
at all.
We had a bunch of independently smart people, but when you're talking about giant corporations, you have to utilize the team.
Yeah.
And so that's the importance of the team.
So what made you want to leave?
My home place.
Yeah. No, I mean, so
Yeah.
did you just recently leave? Like once you bought the place?
Yeah, my last week of employment was last week.
Oh wow, really?
So this is the first time I've been unemployed in years.
That's so crazy.
In years, I grew
so
a beard. You've never seen me in a beard.
I've never seen you in a beard. I
Never.
see him. I see
Always
him in a beard
wearing
right now. I'm like,
suits.
yo, yeah.
I want to see you with. And I want to see you without a beard now.
No, I love this. This
He's
is
on
great. Not
Instagram.
shaving. Like imagine not shaving. This
No
is
shave November. He really took that to heart, bro.
fantastic.
He took that to heart.
No, it's wonderful.
He's got the overalls. He's festive. He's looking festive today. I've never seen this
yeah,
this
you know,
side of him. It's crazy.
I'm comfortable, and like that's another thing. Like working for yourself allows you freedom to be you, as opposed to conforming to a larger group, which I've always it's exhausting to do. Because when you play like a management role, you have to conform to that role. Like a good reason I would never hang out with anybody, even though if I liked them or not, was because shit happens. Like one person gets drunk, then they get upset, and then where's the liability?
Especially
Where's the
in
lawsuit? Where's the
in
litigation?
industry. Yeah.
Imagine how many unstable people we might mutually
Oh,
probably
my.
already know.
Oh,
put that in
my.
a dangerous situation, and then oh my,
No, I talked about this, bro. I talked about this shit.
yeah, and it's real. If I was a bad person, I could go into a bad restaurant and create a scenario in which I could generate a lawsuit. Easy, because no managers are really prepared for this type of litigation or how to protect from it, because no one's really trained on HR.
On HR, yeah.
They're really good servers, so they get promoted to be a manager. But no one knows HR.
And that's the whole thing with like industries. I guess like a lot of hosts get hit on too much by like certain managers or
Yep.
like other staff, and like they don't train like HR, like you said. So like they don't really. You were always very like on a lookout for that. Like like it's very professional. Everything like about this professional. Even when we went out, it was more of like a learning experience. It was like a fucking like let's go. Like we're having fun. We're not on the clock, but we're also here to like learn like your first speakeasy.
Yeah.
Field
trip.
Field trip type of situation. And I'm like, that shit was that's really, really fun. But yeah, I don't think a lot of people like understand that side where it's like, don't fuck around with people you work with, especially in the service industry, because that shit happens a lot. It comes to bite you in the ass, bro.
Yeah.
It does. I've been bitten in the ass, as y'all know from one of the episodes. Forgot what episodes. I had a episode titled Nightmare Employee.
Oh yeah, and when Christian was here.
Nightmare Employee. You know who we talking about. He brought her on, and the worst experience I've ever had in my life, bro. That shit was scary as shit. Super scary. Pretty much one of
Got you
like
traumatized.
somebody that I think was my friend. I've never done anything bad to her, said anything like nothing wrong at all.
Backstab
ever.
you.
Backstab me for no reason. For no reason, bro. That's the thing that gets to me the most. Like I have no idea why, bro. Like if I even had like an inclination on why, like maybe like, all right, cool, maybe it would make sense, maybe I'd be apologetic, or maybe, I'd kind of understand it, I'd let it go or something, but like no idea. And that's my thing is like, I warn everybody like, you just don't know when just a regular person's going to come to a restaurant
Flip.
and flip. They're going to befriend you and then try to take you out of that position
Crazy.
immediately.
What's your take on that when that whole thing happened?
He was gone, bro.
Really?
He hired her and dipped to India. It's like, fuck
Jesus.
this, I'm out.
Well,
Didn't
when
have
you-
to deal with it. And then when she came back, she's pretty much gone.
No, that's not true. I hired her again.
Hired
Oh, really?
Again?
Yeah.
Did she move to California?
Wait, which one was? Oh, that one.
Oh, damn.
I can't politically speak about that.
Oh, okay.
I can't politically speak about that.
can't.
Well, here's the thing.
You can't.
To that exact circumstance, very talented person is dating an enormously talented individual. I don't know if you know who she was dating before.
Yeah, no, I did.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like
I actually liked the dude in the because he had a show.
Morgan Harris. Yeah,
The show, and I was really rooting for him, bro. I was like, before I met anybody, like,
Yeah.
I like you got me into the sommelier world, so like me and
he's who I learned from. He was I worked at a wine bar with him just before he got his certified. It was called Tangled Vine on the Upper East Side, and I remember because he was a big intellect, and I was not an intellect. I'm still not an intellect. And he would sit there at the bar and be like, and he'd sit there for like 20 minutes talking to the guest. No drinks were made. Nothing was served. This guy didn't do anything. But what I was like, oh, fuck, well, he's entertaining, super smart. So I would run around him and do everything around him because I was like, well, at least I can do that because this guy's so smart. Like I can just run around him and do all that cool stuff, which worked out great because I also was learning from him as he was doing these like really fun, engaging spiels.
Yeah.
You know, obviously I caught up to him to a certain extent, but so you know, he's someone you could never do wrong by. Because he also has like a lot of political weight as well. Okay. So I think they were at a break. They broke up or something. So I don't know. Break,
they were
whatever.
on some weird shit. She decided to fuck around with my cousin.
I don't know.
No, not even. She fucked around with the whole bar, bro.
Well,
let's be honest.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with, healthy sexual engagement amongst peers. I don't mind that at
now
all.
we ain't trying to get them all fired after you fuck with them.
Well, did she try to get you guys
the whole
fired, though?
gang.
What did she do?
Manny? All right, so this is what she tried to do.
Damn.
With Manny, because she was fucking with Manny first. I didn't know this shit. I mean, I didn't care either way. Like
This is a lot of laundry.
I'm not.
This is a lot of laundry.
I'll air this shit. I'll just bleep names out. I don't care.
All right.
But so yeah, she would fuck around with Manny, right? The guy that I worked with, the guy behind the bar, was me, Manny, and then we were just bringing on Christian, right?
Yeah.
And then we brought her on. I guess we just brought her on as like a new person to like also be a part of the team because you were leaving to India.
She wanted to learn, and she was a very talented sommelier too.
So she says she was fucking around with Manny, all right? Because like after day one, I think we all went to like PJ Carney's where we just went to drink.
Uh-huh.
Like obviously they was like fucking around or whatever. So it was what it was. It didn't matter.
Consenting adults.
Knowing Manny, and Manny's history with women, bro. I'm laundering this shit out too, bro. It never goes fucking well. So next week we're over here. All right, they can't even work next to each other.
Oh, yes, you're right.
They can't even work next to each other.
So I'll tell you exactly how I approached this. I was like, I don't care. I intentionally did not try to find out information.
Yeah.
So I could just be like, hey, you two are, both great professionals. I noticed there's some tension. I think like one of them would come up to me or the other, maybe both of them at that time.
I feel like it was only like her, like just literally coming up and just trying to stab him as much as she could in the back.
Well, I mean, the thing is this, like, this happens a lot in restaurants where like there's a lot of drama.
A lot of tension.
A lot of tension. As a manager, like we don't really,
bro, that's
we don't really care. We're just like, is the job done?
Yeah.
Will it get through? Is it impeding service? Is it impeding the health and well-being of the rest of the staff? That's what we care about. So like, because we were a bar and we're kind of like a little family, I was like, I just keep it in the family as long as shit isn't crazy. You guys will work it out. You guys are all adults.
Cersei and Jamie shit.
Deal with it. But then I remember like something else happened. And even like me being aloof and not wanting, like I think something happened with like Christian or something. Did something happen with Christian?
Yeah, she fucked around with Christian too.
And then like it was like this triangular, drama.
Dude,
love
so
circle.
now we're all in a fucking circle, bro. I'm over here just like I'm just a fucking casualty of war at this point, literally, because she was fucking around. They couldn't even see each other. They couldn't bear each other. Obviously, she tries to befriend me. Obviously, I'm training her. She's also befriended Christian. She tries to become a part of our circle. We're all hanging out. We're all chilling. She hooks up with Christian. It is what it is. Fuck it, whatever. And then this is all fine. The part was, all right, we're going to get drinks. In the middle of this drinks, she gives a spiel. She's like, yo, Manny's not working out for this team. She's like, yo, like, I don't think Manny should be here. Like, he's not really doing this. He's not batching. He's not doing syrups. He's blah, blah, blah. She's like, yeah, like, I don't know. Like, maybe we should talk with Daniel. He's like, George, you should talk with Daniel. You're pretty cool with him. You know him. I'm like, bro, listen, bro. I'm like, I don't care who you think I am or who I am, bro. I'm like, Manny has a position where it's like, I don't know what the fuck he could do, bro. Like, he could punch Daniel in the face and not get fired. But I'm also like, he also does like a lot of shit that like we don't really understand that like adds to the team. So I'm like, either way, like I have no problem with him. But like I noticed that. I'm like, oh, she's trying to turn this like knife on to like getting the bar, like she befriended the bar team to like kind of get this guy fired. Cool, that didn't work. That's fine, bro. So she's fucking around with Christian. I don't know where, I guess there's this wee bit of tension between Manny and Christian, but at the end of the day, they're Eskimo brothers. They don't give a fuck.
Eskimo brothers.
Like, yeah, honestly, they just squashed the beef immediately. The only beef they had with each other was just maybe like just work tension shit.
Yeah.
Like just work based strictly. That went away. And then I don't know where fucking Christian falls head over heels for this fucking girl. And then she decides to end things, I guess, and get back with her ex. you know, the sommelier dude,
I think they're getting married. Congratulations,
which
guys.
Oh wow!
Congratulations.
Congratulations! I don't know her, but I'm like, wow, damn.
fuck your marriage, bro.
Oh damn.
Fuck that bitch.
They're a lovely tall couple.
Damn. I don't know this girl at all, and from the story you guys been telling me, I'm like, yo, I don't even want to meet this girl at all. But congratulations,
Dude, like she's a cool person, bro. But she's that kind of person that walks into work and it's like, oh, I'm a princess. I want everything done for me.
Oh my god!
Like I could do it myself. I'm very capable. I'm also independent as fuck. But I want you guys to do it for me because like I'm cute or some shit. You know what I'm saying? That's the way she tried to run it.
Yeah.
But either way, you know, going out of that, for some reason they broke up, and then she out of nowhere hits me like one day completely out of the blue, hits me with that whole like harassment thing.
Oh, that was you.
That was me, bro.
Oh yeah.
But she set that up from day one.
Well, the very smart people can, if you, like I said, if you're very smart and you feel, hurt, or you feel that you can't affect your working environment, there are ways to do it that force certain circumstances.
Yeah.
And I don't find that to be a good tactic, but people that find that they're in a scenario which they just can't change, and they feel that it's unhealthy, and they feel that action isn't taken to make it better, they act out in ways like, you know, I'm not going to say exactly that because I'm still partial. I don't know exactly what happened, whatever, but I've seen that so many times.
You weren't even here. I don't even think you were. I think you had just gotten back when I was dealing with this whole situation because it was up to the other managers to deal with. But pretty much all right, this was her thing. I mean, really, it was just about
it's the fiber of one's character that I think often gets overlooked. To say, hey, if it's a bad situation, I'm going to be proactive and actually have an open conversation, openly deal with this.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people nowadays, they just go for easy ways out to deal with the circumstance because they feel like they don't have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
There's easier ways. I think it's a lot harder and it's a lot more productive if you genuinely do the hard work and say, hey, let's have, someone, mitigate the situation and just be an impartial observer. We'll have the conversation. We'll talk about this or talk about that. And we'll actually go through it and we'll establish, do we still want to work together? Do I still want to work here? And then at the end of the day, they have to own up to their own character if they continue to do bad behavior or if they go on a better path.
See, that's the professional, polite way to put about it. But this is what happened.
Society doesn't even do that. Look at this in the environment.
I'm gonna give you just real quick. 1, 2, 3. Look. So look, she said real quick, like that I sent her text messages that were complete lies, right? And so I got sat down and I got confronted about this. During that meeting, right? They confronted me about the messages that I sent her. Pulled out my phone.
Mm-hmm.
These are fucking lies, right? Boom. Immediately, I was good. I was in the good, bro. Like, I had evidence. I'm like, yo, let me just pull out my phone. Let me show the messages she's talking about. Boom, 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 right? I was like, there's nothing here that implicates me to what she just said. She is a liar.
I do recall that information is accurate. Yeah.
Cool. So that happened. I was good. I still had to work with her. She was good for whatever fucking reason she was good. She felt the tension like she's a liar because she was a liar. So then she ended up leaving. And that was the situation at the end of the day. But I just had to deal with that fucking bullshit. And again, we were friends, bro, up until one day they just called me down the office and I got like almost excommunicated from the restaurant for these lies that she put on. And if I had not shown my text messages that moment, who knows what would fucking happen to me, bro. I could have been fired because of what she said. Like, for real.
That's why you got to hold your cards tight.
Bro, for real. Now, I'm so happy. I'm like, yo, I don't delete my messages and shit. Like, I keep that shit because I'm real. I've gotten that almost after the first situation, after, Jolie, like the first person I ever like almost fucked around with working. Like, I was like, nah, I'm never doing this again. Never doing this again. So when I saw Christian and Manny doing it, I'm like, yo, whatever, just keep me the fuck out of it. I don't care. But then I'm like, yo, like, I'm a repercussion of this, bro. Like, out of both of y'all, like, I really tried my hardest to stay out of it. So I was like, fuck that. But yo, this is work shit, bro. This is like a
long time ago, like years ago.
It's like years ago. I just don't like the girl. I don't care. Like, doesn't matter. Like,
Don't hold the grudge. Let it go.
Yeah.
Let's let it go. This is gonna be the last thing to talk about her. Let it go, man. Let it go. It's been years, man. Let it go.
I'm sure you both have blossomed into amazing individuals.
Hey, yeah, hell yeah.
Maybe she equally learned from the situation and pulled good things from that too. Who knows?
Hopefully she does. I mean, she's getting married, so you know.
Again, I'll send my my gift, the wedding gift.
If you want to have a good time, bro. I know Shorty.
These are people I respect. These are people I like.
All right, cool. I'm bleeping names out. Fuck that. I'm not getting anyone no political shit. All right, fuck. That's fucking funny.
Yeah, man. Shit.
All right, man.
I messed around with someone at work once, and I married them. Yeah.
See, that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do it, you gotta marry them. That's it.
Yeah.
He knew what he got himself into. It was done. That's it. How did that go about? Actually, I want to know about that because now you have a kid. You know.
Interesting enough, I lied as well. I did the same thing I did with bartending that I did with her.
Wait, what's the lie? Did she even call you with that lie?
Because I was trying to do massage school, and I was like, I was doing like, my line was like, I know wine and I do massages and I've traveled the world.
How old were you?
I don't know. I was 21. I was younger. No, I was 21. I was 21. She was like 23, 24, something like that.
Okay.
And, I was making a ton of money at the jobs I was working at, and took her to Paris for like 3 weeks instantly, like afterwards. Spent 3 weeks in Paris. It was like awesome. And then I think within 6 months we were married. But what I was doing,
And yes, still married right now, right?
Yeah, still married, just had a kid.
Still married. They just had a kid.
I know. I'm just thinking, okay, well done.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't know.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm still married. But and it probably kept me out of a lot of trouble because I would have easily probably gotten into a lot of trouble being in the bartending sommelier community. So probably that's the only reason I'm successful. Is
I remember when she started working, you were like, "Oh yeah, that's my sister." He told everybody that's his sister, and would just walk away. Wouldn't like
because I was super intimidated. I was like, don't fuck with her. My sister. Because I also didn't want it to be like, oh, he's favoring her for something.
Yeah.
So I wanted to create like an image of like, there's some kind of connection, but like just don't mess with that person.
Or else.
Yeah, it worked. No one.
He's a manager, so he can't really, do all that.
So
just show up in the back of the restaurant at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. So like that's essentially how it happened.
But so I'm in a relationship. Edwin is seeking, relationship advice as well, I'm sure. And you're married. You're one of the few people that I know that I guess has been married for like a long time. Made it
like
work.
11 years. Yeah.
How did you know? Like 6 months in, like
you don't know. You're crazy.
You don't know.
What do you know about anything in anyone's life?
I don't fucking know shit.
When you eat breakfast in the morning, do you really know?
So what came upon your decision to be like, all right, I'm doing this?
This is the girl. This is the one.
Not even this one. Just I'm getting married.
It was more of just it's the same thing I'm talking about. Like I have the same character flaw. I like putting myself in intense situations and then seeing how I come out at the other side. And that is a great scenario for marriage. I think that you put yourself in a scenario that you're not aware of and you don't know. And probably each relationship is very distinctly different because they're not all the same. And then, you either stay in it or you have times in which you don't want to be in it and you go back and forth and you deal with it and you evolve as, two people. And, no one's harder on you than the person you're with.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, like you become more responsible, you become better, you become a more well-rounded, more patient person. Like I'm not a patient person by, instinct. I can be patient only because I've been married to someone for 11 years and like, you have to wait for them for an hour when they're going anywhere.
I fucking remember OD. We'd be, I mean, Daniel's a little impatient. Like sometimes.
A little impatient is like the biggest like understatement ever.
When he wants things done. So I remember one day she's working down in the cellar and then she just politely, like slightly hints, like, basically it's her really just taking out the whip where she was like, Daniel, you're not being nice right now, bro. And he just changed up immediately. And I'm like, damn, bro, this is a powerful lady right here, bro.
Because you got to agree to like,
yeah,
you have to agree that you genuinely want the things that you talk about. And the thing is, you can't hide them from the person you're married with. And if you're someone who like, I like being right. When I talk about competitiveness,
yeah.
But ultimately, where does that really end up? It's not who is right, but what is right. You're chasing higher ideals. So it went from, oh, I'm better at this, to what is the better thing?
Yeah.
And so, obviously being an impatient asshole isn't the better thing.
Yeah.
It's not the better thing. I want to be a good manager. I want to be a good leader. I want to have this. So really, genuinely, what do you need to do? And you have to fucking tough it up and not be an asshole.
1000%. No, I learned from that. I was like, oh shit, bro. I'm like, he's right. Cause you can't just force something to happen. Like, you need to take a step back and look at it. And the way you talk about relationships is like the way I just talk about like with any relationship, right? It's just like, you kind of jump into it, not knowing where you're going to get out of it, but you just keep trying every day. And like you said, like through the failures, like you're going to keep growing. And it's like, you're not going to just keep shoving it in something that doesn't work or like being impatient. You're going to learn to like get back and be more patient. And like, I guess slowly fall in love with that person, like every day on like little things. But my just thing like about marriage in general is like, I love that about relationships. I love like that about like, in a sense, like marriage, my only scaredness comes from like, I feel like that piece of paper. It's like if you get divorced, like then it's just like about money and it's just like about like all this other shit that like shouldn't be involved with like the relationship with one person.
Yeah, the institution of marriage as a piece of paper and all of that is bullshit. Like that's completely, it doesn't make any sense to me at all.
You jumped in it.
I jumped in it, but that's just because society is what it is today. And, to a certain extent, we all have to conform into society so that, we can go along with things.
Fuck, bro. He's talking me into it, bro. Like this is the way my girl's talking me into it and shit.
But
I'm
like,
so against it, but like she's so for it. And like now I'm slowly like opening up and seeing like, all right, cool. Like, it's not what I think it was. It's not like what my parents had, it's not like, it could be something deeper and it could be something better. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, and I feel like you see that too, but like how did you even go about it? Like, would you wake up one day and was like, yo, let's get married? Or did you like have like a plan?
How did it came up to? How did it came
Yeah.
up to
Did you
fruition?
like the proposal, like the engagement? Like,
I don't even.
no way.
I'm trying to remember.
Come on.
Did you propose to her like in France or after?
Did you have a ring?
No.
No. Okay.
No, not at all. I still don't even wear a ring. It's bad for your hand circulation. That's the only reason I don't wear it.
Nice.
Get a bigger ring.
Yeah. But no, I mean, we connected over the sense of like we wanted to be better people, and I think that's kind of how it came about. It was just kind of like we casually mentioned it, and then like when you're like when you have like a dare, and you dare somebody, you're like, oh, okay, let's drive to San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get in the car, and then the other person gets in the car, and then you start driving, and then the turn off comes, and you keep on driving, and then all of a sudden you're married.
That's crazy.
Like,
crazy.
It was like that.
And
so poetic.
Yeah, it was like we allowed the situation to happen, and I think actually like a year and a half after we were already married, we were like looking at each other and we're like, we didn't do any of the stuff that we should have done before this. Yeah. And we had to deal with the fact that we were in a marriage, yet at the same time, we hadn't spent years together. We had only been together like 6-something months.
Yeah.
So like there were multiple, epochs in the relationship of evolution and change. Do I believe in, marriage as, the United States government believes in like the paper? Not, I mean,
No.
what would sell me on it? What?
Yeah.
I do
Taxes?
believe, no, I taxes. Yeah, that makes sense. I do think that like, all the rights, like if I die, obviously you should have everything. But divorce in itself, no, it's not pretty because, I think I just had a kid, separation of, who has custody and what, it's vicious.
Yeah.
And if you decide to break up, just like, certain people that we've worked with, breakups can be bad if both sides don't have good character.
Mm-hmm.
You have to really say, do I trust this person not to burn me or to do well by me, even if things are bad? Like, are they capable of going low? Or are they the type of person that even if they hate you, they're still not going to go below their own standards that you believe in?
Yeah.
And that's kind of the litmus test. And you don't know.
You don't know.
You don't know.
You never know. You never know who's going to turn into that. But I also feel like, I mean, obviously I know Christine, like, from a little bit also like, she follows and like she supports that. I feel like sometimes, but also she's just like she's a great person, and like the way I hear her speak about you was also very highly, and like very much like I always felt like, yo, like this is somebody like that I'd want to be with, like somebody that speaks to me about this, somebody that sees me like almost in the way she did, because like I mean there are moments where you're not around and she'd be like, oh, like, you know, Daniel had, you know, he wears the same like shirt every day. It was something small like that, like something just really small. She'd be like, he wears the same shirt every day, so I got him this new shirt so he could wear a new shirt. And I'm like, damn, bro, like she really thinks about like the shirt, like the shirt he wears every day. And I'm like, everybody knows Daniel wears the same fucking like suit like 3 days out of the fucking week. But like she's thinking about like his shirt, so she's like thinking about like how to like make you better, I guess, or like cleaner, you know, like
yeah, she
always thinking about
she
you. Like,
fills in
like
all the gaps that I would miss out on my own accord.
Yeah, exactly. So like that, you know, makes
I'm
you
a much nicer person
team.
because of her.
Exactly.
And she's a much more badass person because she's with me. Actually, no, she's always been a badass. But yeah, so that's you got to find someone that's like that. And, you know, it's never perfect. No people are perfect. That's what it is.
So how about this whole kid situation? How'd you I guess find out about that? How'd you like?
You know, I've
fatherhood now.
I don't believe people should have kids nowadays just because the world is so overpopulated. And like I've always had that kind of thought, but at the same time, like, you know, you want to leave something behind, and you want people to have a better impact on the world than what you've done. And like me, I've just been trying to make it. I've been trying to hustle. I've been trying to do that. And a lifetime of hustle doesn't mean that you've made the world a better place. It just means that you've achieved personal goals. But, you know, I think the way that we educate, and I love educating, I love teaching, I feel like I could do that with my own child to hopefully make sure that they're an engineer and they like, you know, create a system that sucks out carbon, and then, you know, we don't have to deal with greenhouse gases or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
So like you kind of want that. And then also the idea of having a family and the idea of, you know, finding someone to give your love to is impacting, because you don't always have it. It's not readily available. You know,
so as you get older, you start to like feel like this way. Like,
the fuck, you call me old?
No,
man?
I'm calling old, bro. I'm saying older, bro.
Yes, yeah, you're totally right. You're absolutely right.
I mean, you could say as you're evolving later on.
Yeah.
You could say that.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I think that's the case. It's my case. You know, I'm still at the exact way I got married. I don't know. It scares me to death. I have to, you know, when I see her sleeping at night, she's so still that I think she's dead. So I feel like I have to make. Every parent does this. Yeah, every parent does. Your parent, I'm sure you're like, you know, Christian. I'm sure he's seen like his son laying in bed and be like, "Oh, he's so still. What, did I fuck up?" You know, like, and so it's scary, and I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but you know, I'm happy that I did it. It's great. It's wonderful, but it's scary because you don't know if you can support them, especially with the economy nowadays. Like, I feel comfortable now that I could do it.
Yeah.
If I was still where I was 5 years ago, probably not. No, I probably
5 years ago.
You know what I mean? You want to be, you know, secure enough to be able to actually give them a good life and give them a good setup.
Yeah.
Because I lived in like a trailer, and like I was in the worst place of Arkansas. I had a rough childhood, and so I wouldn't want that. I didn't have a father growing up at all. So, you know, through that, and maybe this is just selfish, I get to understand what a father is like by being a father.
Mm-hmm.
And you have that kind of vision of like, what would I do if I was a dad? What would it, you know, mean to me if I was a kid having a dad?
Yeah.
And so you kind of actually get to, you know, embody a little bit of that. And that's kind of exciting,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I'm not a dad, but I always think like, or like I didn't grow up with a father either. Like, grew up with like a really strong mother, but
Mothers.
Yeah, mothers. You know, mothers. Mom, if you're watching this, 'cause mom always supports this shit. But anyways, like, I feel like, yo, like I need to make sure that I don't make my kid into a pussy, bro. Whether she's a girl or a guy, like I need to put them through like some sort of struggle, or like they could really learn at a young age, like working hard, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like
That's
that
scary.
way they really get.
How would you
like,
do it?
That thing. What?
How would you do it?
Manual labor, like picking up boxes, like bringing them upstairs, downstairs, like. Probably one of the things I've seen, like again, Logan Paul, you don't know who he is, but like Logan Paul was just talking about he's just a big celebrity YouTuber, and he was just talking about like how his father would renovate houses, and they'd buy hoarder houses, right? Because they're easy flips. So he'd make both his kids like, you know, go in there and really just get the gunk out and like clean it up, and like anything valuable they find, they get to keep and sell it online, and they'll make a profit off that.
Yeah.
Which is super easy to do nowadays. which would be like, you know, a great learning experience on how my kid could learn how to invest, right? You find something valuable, you hold on to it, you make sure it's clean, it's good, and then you can flip it later on online very simply, and you just made money off that.
Yeah.
But then also like the actual physical labor of them going inside like the crib, like they felt like that made them hard workers. And I feel like me working in restaurants, me picking up boxes, me, you know, doing what I have to do, grinding, and then on the side learning about investing has really like helped me like grow as a person and like pretty much be able to do everything I have here, bro. Like I always talk about like the podcast, how we literally started this with just an idea like 6 months ago. We didn't know anything about like audio equipment or like recording or like Premiere Pro or like editing.
No, this is a serious setup.
Yeah, no, this is serious.
nice.
This is all fucking like Joe Rogan shit. So I'm like, yo, let me take the money I saved. You know, I'm going to talk about investing the stock market too. Cause like, you know, during COVID, I think that was like the serious time to put money in. And I was just waiting on that stock market crash. There might be another one. Who the fuck knows? Either way, I'm more of a long-term thinker. I'm not like a short-term thinker where I just put my money in and out. So when I do give like advice like that, I just think about long-term. Same thing from my kids. Like if I ever have a kid, I want him to think long-term as well. You know, not just like very short-minded. You know, the way we are on Instagram and TikTok is just like 15 seconds, 20 seconds. Like we want immediate
Gratification.
gratification.
It's the marshmallow test. You give a kid, you say, hey, I'll give you a marshmallow now. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know he's marshmallow. Yeah.
So you give it, you say, I'm going to give you a marshmallow now. You can have it now. Or if you wait, I'll give you 2 marshmallows.
Oh,
Yeah.
And so you let them sit there in the room, and if they eat it, then they don't get 2 marshmallows. But if they wait,
They get
then they get 2.
Yeah.
And they tracked these little kids that did this test, and the people that waited for 2 because they could have the character to, you know, not have instant gratification.
Mhm.
They were almost across the board more successful.
It's crazy.
And that's what you're talking about. Like,
Yeah.
teach them that, like, you know, a little bit of investment of work now,
Mhm.
holding in and, you know, learning these lessons pays off.
Yeah, but I feel like I didn't have that until literally I worked in the fucking restaurant. I was just like, dude, I want the quick money, bro. Like I want to make $800, $1,000 like a week. I want to get to whatever my mom's making like as soon as I can. And I don't care. And I want to understand how much hard work and labor that's going to be. And then I was like, damn, like it's not going to work unless like I sit back and like.
What's the
really,
moral
like,
in
learn.
that though?
In my kids doing that?
No, what's the moral in getting the quick money and having instant gratification? Like, where is the journey in that as a person?
Oh, as like there was nothing. I'd always hit like a wall, like always hit a wall. And then like I would feel very depressed about it where I'm like, damn, like now I feel stuck. Now I feel like I don't know what to do. You know, now like my whole life depends on this one thing where I haven't diversified enough into other sources, right? Where it's like, okay, cool. If this fails, cool. Now I have these 4 things to back up on.
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't have that back then, but like through the hard work, I'm like, fuck, through hustle, like through starting something and just having it fail and then doing again, doing this for 5, 4, 6 different things. Now I have a bunch of different things that I can just back up on, and I can also earn that financial freedom to a certain extent, you know, where I could do whatever I want.
It's the hero's journey. Like, you know, Joseph Campbell.
No.
So Joseph Campbell is this historian. He basically looks at all human history. So you have the hero's journey, which is his big, you know, thing he talks about. You start in one place, you go through trials and tribulations, and eventually you end up exactly in the same place that you started, but you're different.
I
Mm.
see.
And that, I mean, that's like every, like, you know, Odyssey and all of that stuff going to, you know, Fast and the Furious. It's just, they start off in the beginning one place, but they end up totally different. But yeah, that's you got to go through the journey.
I love the journey, bro.
The journey
Nice.
could be good, could be bad, but it's a good, nice journey.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, you got any questions for our guest, bro?
Honestly, no. I'm just hearing you guys about the past, and no, honestly, no, not really at all.
Nothing. What about, all right, so today we were talking about like, we want Edwin to like start like an LLC for his business. And he was
Yes.
actually wondering about how to
I
do
do
that
not-
because
It's so easy.
remember
Really?
he bought a what, a
All these cameras that have-
We were talking about-
$3,000
yeah,
we were
camera,
talking about,
right?
yeah, we were
Yeah.
talking about, yeah.
50 bucks. 50 bucks to get your own LLC.
Really?
Yeah, man. It's easy.
50 bucks
Go
an
to,
LLC.
I'm trying to think of, there's a company that you can actually, I paid like 250 bucks, but they do all of like your taxes and they get a bundle, and you can like go to GoDaddy and get your like website and everything like looped in. You just have to do quarterly statements.
For these statements.
And then you have to do your end of the year statements. If you do like TurboTax at the end of the year, I mean, essentially, if you're doing like, you know, equipment, you're basically doing invoices.
Mhm.
So you basically submit the invoices, you get the payment, you show the bank statements, and then you pay the tax on the invoice. that's essentially all you have to do. So it's actually pretty easy to run an LLC.
We also do have like a CPA.
Yeah.
So like he could help us out with that part, I guess.
For sure. Like if I could actually do it, then that would.
Yeah.
Pretty-
Because what
that
I was
would help
telling
me out
him
in
was
the
like
future.
pretty much like since his camera equipment, like
This is nice equipment.
yeah, like
These are nice.
He pays a lot of shit. Like
These are expensive and nice.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
expensive and nice. And he
When I saw
uses
that
them a lot.
dog, the pit bull come in a couple of minutes ago, I was like,
Yeah, I know.
this
I'm
guy
like,
is trusting.
ooh. I'm like, oh my god.
This guy is trusting. So, I mean, what I was saying is like basically, if he buys these for his business, which he
Right off.
obviously uses, he can write them off, right?
Yeah, you can write them
and
off.
then he can essentially you're saving yourself money in that sense, right?
Dude.
I mean, you do end up having to pay cash out of pocket, but it does come out of a deductible at the end of the year.
Deductible, yeah.
And there's a certain percentage of deductibles you can have based on your business.
All right. Yeah,
Um,
for sure. I mean, if you
for
help
an
me out,
S-corp or
George,
some
like,
shit.
I would definitely appreciate it. Like, I never thought about LIC. I know you always talk about
Yeah, I don't know.
LIC.
Today I'm just like, yo, I'm like, why the fuck did?
Yeah.
Because
why
I've been
didn't
doing
we
like
do this?
I've been doing my little business since like last year December, and then
But now it's
doing-
taking off.
Yeah. I mean, ever since I got this new camera, like my business was slowing down, but then it's getting wrapping back up now. So I'm like, okay. And then he told me about the LAC. I'm like, yeah, why not? You know, I never thought of it.
Because think about credit. Like banks, if you get good enough credit and you have a small business, that's going to help you get better and better
Which
credit.
also like that's what we've talked about pretty much like episode 1 is how to build your credit. Where like and he's a perfect example where his credit score was at what when we met
650,
650, and I gave him like all the advice. What are you at right now?
712.
yeah,
712.
there you go.
712.
That's good.
Yeah,
That's
712.
good, yeah. So it's like pretty much just using, opening up credit cards. I like to do like what people call credit card hacking, which pretty much you get like a Chase Sapphire preferred, right? You get 60,000 points for spending $3,000 in 3 months. So like $1,000 a month, right? And whatever your car insurance or like just anything that's auto pay, you pay that off. You get 60,000 points. You get a free trip to Hawaii or like
Anywhere,
California or like
yeah.
whatever. I
If
do
you
that.
manage that, like you can do a lot of good stuff
Exactly.
with it.
So you build your credit, you literally get a free plane ticket and you get points. You could also use these points towards Amazon stuff. So that's pretty much what I've used. So I'm just like, yo, like that's another form of income to a certain extent when you're saving money. So like, yeah.
Now, for sure, if you help me out, let's discuss about this. Like, I guess tomorrow if you want, and all that.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
we
for
will.
sure,
We will. We definitely will. We do have John, one of my accountants. Like he said he had a CPA lined up for us. So like we're gonna
For
go
sure.
speak to him and
Big
see what we
moves,
could
big
do.
moves, big moves.
Make
Yeah.
moves, bro.
Yeah.
Make this shit bigger.
Yeah.
man.
But also like, all right, cool. So just one more thing I want to ask you is like, pretty much I'm having trouble like marketing this thing,
So the podcast.
the podcast. Yeah.
So what are you doing in terms of brand alignment?
What do you mean?
So brand alignment. So this is a way to generate mutual business by putting yourself next to another brand and using them and their media machine and their advertising machine to go alongside your brand, and they'll use you and you use them, and then the amount of people that you hit is yours plus theirs.
Oh,
Okay, cool.
Plus, also you build the history of working with them. So one thing that like I do with a coffee company, like we'll be working with like Counterculture Coffee down in North Carolina. I want to promote them as much as possible because they, for me, are just a way to have a really great high quality coffee brand. But at the same time, I can just give them props. But at the same time, it's coming through my feed. So it's like when you date up. You know?
Yeah. No, I get it. My thing was like the way I was trying to do was
Like we should have like Pellegrino here. Like if like Pellegrino, was,
you're talking
like
about-
those types of like you can do branding, actual branding,
actual branding.
but
which is
then
where the
you
money's
could
at.
also do like a cross episode, go on someone else's show,
yes,
like be interviewed,
collaboration. Yeah.
a collaboration. Those are also fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Doing interviews with like a chef or a business or something like that,
Yeah.
which basically gets their whole base into your base, and you're just having that kind of brand alignment.
Cool, yeah. Because the few ways that I've been trying to do it is again through Instagram Reels. I've been creating good content through TikTok, collaboration, big on collaboration, big on like
bringing people on here,
bringing
and all
people
that,
on
and
that
getting
have
their audience,
businesses.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
trying to build the audience. As far as brand deals, we're not going to get brand deals until like we hit like a certain peak of viewers.
Have you tried being funny?
That was a good joke. That was a good joke.
I'm not going to get invited back.
This is the last time you've seen
yeah,
here.
that, and then like we've also been trying to build like our audio. I feel like we just finally perfected like the show where like the audio. I finally figured out how to edit the audio. We finally figured out.
Yeah.
We figured out how to do the
Production quality is
the
great.
production quality
Yeah.
is really good now. I think it's like the best. Obviously, it's the best it's ever been. And maybe we might be reaching out to like Barstool Sports. I don't know if you know who that is. It's like Dave Portnoy. He does like pizza reviews. Like pizza reviews.
Oh wait, the pizza review guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, he's like a millionaire, multi-millionaire.
Well,
or
you're
some shit
doing
like
the
that.
taco thing, which is fun.
Which is why I'm trying to get his attention.
Is this the
with
same
doing this
thing?
shit.
Is
Just
this the
taco
same
form.
podcast? You have your own separate taco thing.
Yeah, it's separate. It's separated, but like I try to do that to promote the Geezus show. I'm also trying to jump on like Twitch. You know what Twitch is? It's like a gaming platform where you record yourself and you talk to other people
I'm so old.
or whatever. Oh, God.
Wow.
Yo, I'm trying to find like so many different
Trying to
ways or like
expand,
as people
trying to
with like
expand.
businesses, so that I can like expand and make this like bigger a little faster.
Have you had the conversation yet with people putting you on like Apple Podcasts, things like that?
So yeah,
what is that move? How do you architect? How do you get
So
that ready?
right now, this is funny because the last episode I just streamed, I announced that we're going to be on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Play, because there's this website called Anchor
Okay.
that we can just, once we have our audio, we just put on the audio. We have the cover and everything. We just write a little description, and then we're already streamlined on Apple. So I think like diversifying too is going to help us, which is what I'm trying to get on too.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like I don't know. Like I feel like I'm almost exhausting every avenue that I'm trying to figure out. So I'm asking everybody like.
Well, I mean, I've seen more than a few episodes of this, and I've definitely seen its like production and like the way that it's evolved. It's a much cleaner, better show than what it was in the very beginning. You can see a clear progress. It's probably going to just take some time to really get it, and then maybe you'll have an idea that comes to you that's like, oh, I want to change it, and it's going to be like this. But then you'll have the tools behind you to be able to execute it a lot faster, a lot easier, with a lot more relevancy to what you're trying to
catch on trends.
Like your impact will be greater because you have the tools to get behind it.
To get behind it, yeah.
But
so that's good, man. No, thank you for that. That's what we're doing.
We appreciate you for coming, man.
Edwin's cameras is dying, so he's definitely freaking out.
Yes, they're dying. I don't want this.
All right, yo.
that one, yeah.
Thank you, Daniel, for joining us.
Hey, man.
Everybody, please don't forget to leave a like, comment
and
subscribe down below. All right.
Gonna help us, please.
Yeah, man.
it's down below.
It's down below.
Down below.
It's down
And
below. right
happy
down here.
Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, guys.
Enjoy
Happy
your Thanksgiving, man.
All right. Peace.
Peace.